Practical Research 1, Module 2. Characteristics, Processes, and Ethics of Research. Objectives. First, describe the characteristics of research. Second, illustrate the processes of research. Third, define ethics in research. Let us start with the characteristics of research. First, research should be systematic. Second, research should be objective. Third, research should be feasible. Fourth, research should be empirical. And last, research should be clear. Research should be systematic. The researcher needs to carry out a series of interrelated steps in conducting the study. Such procedure must follow a well-planned and organized structure from beginning to end. The research paper is divided into macrosystem and microsystem. The former refers to different chapters labeled with main headings, while the latter consists of various elements detailing the contents of each part. Research should be objective. The researcher needs to present information that are purely based on truths. It should always be anchored on the factual basis in which the research work is founded, thus being free from any bias or personal opinion. Research should be feasible. The researcher needs to consider the possibility and practicality of conducting the proposed study. All significant factors like time, budget, and access to resources must be analyzed to determine if the research can actually be done. Research should be empirical. The researcher needs to employ appropriate methods, either quantitatively or qualitatively, to produce evidence-based information. They can be drawn from concrete experimentation, direct or indirect observation, and verifiable experience. And the last characteristic of research, it should be clear. The researcher needs to use comprehensible language to present information and convey explanation throughout the research process. The factors to be manipulated, measured, or described in the study, also known as variables, must be clarified using literature from published and unpublished materials. They should be explained well from the introductory part of the research paper to ensure a deeper understanding of the study to be conducted. Let us continue the discussion with the research process. In the previous lesson, you were oriented with the basic characteristics of research. At this time, you also need to know the process of research because it will help you in properly conducting your own study. Let me remind you that the process refers to a series of steps or actions taken to achieve a particular end or goal. The phases of research. First, we have the conceptual phase. It is identifying the problem, reviewing the literature, formulating the hypothesis, developing the research framework, and determining the research purpose and objective. Second, design and planning phase. It is selecting a research design, developing study procedures, and determining the sampling and data collection plan. Third one is the empirical phase. It is collecting data and preparing data for analysis. Fourth phase is the analytic. It is analyzing data, interpreting the results, and making conclusions. Last phase of research is the dissemination phase. It is communicating results to appropriate audience and utilizing the findings. Research process is a systematic manner in which the researcher approaches his area of study to produce knowledge that the community will consider to be worthwhile within the field. These are the steps in conducting a study. First, you have to define the research problem. Second, review the literature. Third, formulate your own hypothesis. Fourth, prepare the research design. Fifth, you have to collect the data. Sixth, analyze the data. And then the last one, interpret and report the findings. First step, you have to define the research problem. To begin your research, you must look at a significant real-life problem. Factors like area of interest, availability of fund, socioeconomic significance of the study, and the safety measures to be undertaken should be considered in finding and defining the research problem. Second, review the literature. Read various publications or surf the internet to become aware of the previous works already done about the chosen topic. You may utilize different resources like science books, magazines, journals, newspapers, or even in the internet. Third, formulate hypothesis. A hypothesis is a theoretical statement in solving a logical relationship between variables. It should be based on the problem being solved. Fourth step, prepare the research design. Identify what is the best means to collect and analyze data in the study to clarify and improve the research problem, purpose, and questions. Next, you have to collect data. Use an appropriate data collection method to elicit the needed information. After collecting the data, analyze the data. Utilize strategies and methods that make sense of the data to answer the research problem. Then the last step is interpret and report the findings. Put the information in perspective and present the solution to the proposed problem based on the findings of the investigation. Ethics in research. In the previous lessons, you were oriented with the characteristics of research and the research process. Aside from them, you also need to know the importance of ethics because it will guide you in considering the ethical codes and policies you have to follow in writing and conducting a research. Let me remind you that ethics is a branch of knowledge that deals with moral principles in governing a person's behavior in the conduct of any activity. What are the importance of ethics in research? Let us proceed with number one. It promotes the aims of research. Ethics guides the researchers in obtaining knowledge, truth, and avoidance of error by prohibiting fabrication, falsification, and misrepresentation of research data. Second, it upholds values that are essential to collaborative work. Many researchers who are working in different disciplines and institutions cooperate and coordinate to accomplish a particular research. With ethics in mind, they also maintain trust, accountability, mutual respect, and fairness. Third, it ensures that researchers can be held accountable to the public. Ethical norms guarantee the public that researchers are deemed responsible for committing any form of research misconduct. Fourth, it builds public support for research. People express and lend their support by all means if they can trust in the quality and integrity of research. And lastly, it promotes a variety of moral and social values. Ethical principles help the researcher avoid practices that can adversely harm the research subjects and the community. Thus, it encourages social responsibility, human rights, animal welfare, compliance with the law, and public health and safety. Ethical codes and policies for research. First, honesty. The researcher should strive to truthfully report data in whatever form of communication all throughout the study. Second, objectivity. The researcher should avoid being biased. The study should not be influenced by his personal motives, beliefs, and opinions. Third, integrity. The researcher should establish credibility through the consistency of his thought and action. He should act with sincerity, especially on keeping agreements. Fourth is care. The researcher should never neglect even the smallest detail of the study. All information should be critically examined. Records of research activities should be properly and securely kept. Fifth, openness. The researcher should be willing to accept criticisms and new ideas for the betterment of the study. Research results and findings should be shared to the public. Sixth, respect for intellectual property. The researcher should not plagiarize. Credit should be given to who or where it is due. All authors cited and sources used in the study should be properly acknowledged. Plagiarism refers to the act of illegally using another person's ideas, works, processes, and results. Thus, it constitutes claiming an intellectual property as one's own that can be penalized through Republic Act 8293, known as the Intellectual Property Code of the Philippines. Seventh, confidentiality. The researcher should take steps to protect all confidential communications or documents from being discovered by others. 8. Responsible publication. The researcher should ensure that his work is clear, honest, complete, accurate, and balanced, thus avoiding wasteful and duplicate publication. It should likewise refrain from selective, misleading, or ambiguous reporting. Ninth is responsible mentoring. The researcher should teach responsible conduct of research and share professional knowledge and skills, especially to new or less experienced researchers. 10th, respect for colleagues. The researcher should show courtesy to his colleagues by treating them equally and fairly. 11th, social responsibility. The researcher should promote social good by working for the best interests and benefits of the environment and society as a whole. 12th, non-discrimination. The researcher should not discriminate based on sex, race, ethnicity, or any factor relating to scientific competence and integrity. Thus, research should be open to all people or entities who will participate in research. 13th, competence. The researcher should possess necessary knowledge and skills in conducting a study. He should be equipped with a sense of professionalism and expertise to ensure competent results. 14th, legality. The researcher should know and abide by relevant laws, institutional and government policies concerning the legal conduct of research. And last, human subject protection. The researcher should protect human lives by preventing and minimizing harms and risk. He should always uphold the human dignity, privacy, and autonomy of human subjects to be used in the study. These are the ethical codes and policies for research. What are the rights of research participants? Let's start with voluntary participation. The research participants must be given the privilege to exercise their free will whether to participate or not. They have the right to refuse involvement in the study. Thus, any person should not be forced to take part in any research undertaking. Second, informed consent. The research participants must be provided with sufficient information about the procedures and risks involved in the research. It serves as an initial guide on why and how the study will be conducted. Hence, the researcher must ensure that they fully understood and agreed upon the study. Third, risk of harm. The research participants must be protected from any type of harm, whether it may be physical, psychological, social, or economic. The researcher must avoid, prevent, or minimize threats, especially when they are exposed and engaged in invasive and risky procedures. Fourth, confidentiality. The research participants must be assured of their privacy, particularly on personal information. The researcher must secure that all information disclosed by them will not be used without authorized access. And last, anonymity. The research participants must remain anonymous or unidentified throughout the study, even to the researchers themselves. They have the right to keep their identity secret as they participate especially in case-sensitive studies. These are the rights of research participants. This is my reference. Thank you for listening.